Welcome, everybody, once again to episode number 9 of Stay Out of the Kitchen. Doug Heater along with Mike Fouts. I got a bunch of stuff. I know we're not getting to all of it, but I'm going to get to, again, how stupid I am. Mike, if you notice, has that giraffe on his shelf. So, Mike, it's on the other side.
There it is. Yep, you can see it there, right there.
So last week, I couldn't see it. It's because I had him. So I record Mike through my Zoom. By the way, let me make sure we're recording. Yeah, we are. All right. I got him coming through the Zoom. I slid the screen over because I wanted to see our topics, and I had the giraffe blocked. I realized that later. I'm like, I can't see it. I can't see it. And there it was the whole time. So there's his giraffe, which, by the way, we got the arrow on that. So that's how dumb I am. I got to get that out of the way. The other thing I want to get to is, so behind us, my friend Jim, who we will get on soon, all right, because he again insists, including the other day, that he can piss over a fence. He did. He called us up because he's watching the screens behind us, and I noticed there was a hockey fight last week going on while we were talking, and there was a commercial for mental health. He said if your friends show any signs of mental health issues, you should give them a call. So he texted both of us checking, and it's because he saw it on the screen. So he's being helpful. So if anybody sees anything back there and says, hey, I want to give you a call, like maybe Joe Namath will come up at some point. I got the Raiders-Vikings Super Bowl going on, and one of them is going to freeze, I guarantee you, because it's not going to be on long enough.
Well, it's perfect that he would point it out, Doug, because anybody who thinks they can piss over a fence, you got a mental health problem.
He also claims that his buddy in college pissed over a car.
No. Can't be done. There's
Listen,
no way.
I've done a lot of lengthy piss attempts in my day. Never, long time, yeah, like 90 seconds to 110 seconds, length as far as the amount of quantity, but not, again, everybody's like, here these guys are talking about pissing again already, right out of the gate. So all right, I want to get back to revisit a couple of things from last week. Here's what happens. I told Mike this. He remembers the stories way better than I do. I remember the events, but the details he remembers better. So what happens is he'll catch me off guard, and I'm so flustered that I'll forget some of the things I want to bring up. So I want to revisit a couple. So the first one I want to revisit is, the Red Sox and Angels. All right, I want to get to that again, because what happened was, so what year was that again?
It had to be like 06, I think, right?
I forgot to start recording. I forgot to start my timer. All right, I think you're right. It was 2006. Actually, it was the year the Red Sox came from a 3-0 deficit to beat the Yankees.
Yeah. Yes, it had to be 06.
So Mike goes to a party the night before with your wife. Am I right?
It was a work event. We had our annual customer event in October, and we got good and ripped that night. I remember watching the game.
This is not the night she yacked in a bag, right?
No, that's very different.
Okay, that's another one. So Mike tells me Friday night, because I didn't see the game, that I can't, the Angels beat the Red Sox in the league championship series. So the next day, I'm driving. I remember exactly where I was. I'm in Holland Township, New Jersey, going up the hill past the grade school. And I hear John Sterling, who is previewing the Yankee game that afternoon, because that's who the Yankees are going to play. And he's talking about playing the Red Sox. And I'm like, how could Sterling mess this up? Like, how did he just make that big of a mistake? They're playing the Angels. Now, let's just think about this a second. I believe a completely ripped Mike over a Hall of Famer. And again, was going like, you're not going to believe this. This guy messed this up. And then I'm like, wait a second. The Angels didn't win that? And then he, of course, defended himself by saying how ripped he was. I should not. A guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame as a broadcaster, I think, I couldn't believe it. Sterling messed up. My God, I can't believe he messed up. They're not playing the Red Sox. I believe Mike. They're playing the Angels.
So 2 things. Number 1, I was very adamant.
Yes, you were.
The Angels had won. Right? There was no doubt. And number 2, I'm a drunk idiot. So it's really on you.
Well, it is on me. Hey, I want it. It is on me. That's a classic. Of course, just about every year we bring that up. It's just funny because I remember exactly where I was. It was right around 12:30, 1:45 on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm like, I cannot believe he messed that up. So this is one of those cases where you're thinking like, what were you like? I'm thinking Mike is right. I mean, how could you get that wrong? How could you think the wrong team won? But he did.
Police suspect alcohol may have been involved.
What Kiss shirt is that? What do you have there? I got to wear one of that's nice.
That is nice. And this is from the 2012 World Tour. We saw them up in West Palm Beach. Yeah.
So I've seen them. I think I've seen them as many times or more than Def Leppard. Those are the two top ones that I've seen. I most recently saw Kiss at PPL Center here in Allentown. I have a shirt from that. I got a shirt from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when we went out there of them, who, by the way, they were way, way too long before they got in. I cannot believe some of the artists. That's for another time. Oh, by the way, that's another joke. Jim says everything is, but that's for another time. Because we always have that. That should be the name of the show. That should be the name of the show. That's for another time. Because that's for another time. Don't get me going on the Hall of Fame and Kiss. I have one from, I think it was 2000, maybe 3 or 4, when they played up in Scranton outdoors. And it was at one time too small. Now it fits nice. I love them. That people love those. People love those shirts.
So today, Doug, I wanted to bring this up because this is kind of a topic that roasts my balls.
Okay.
Which what roasts my balls is my kids. So I'm cleaning out the house and I find this glorious historical artifact. It is an original Bon Jovi concert t-shirt from 1986.
Oh, man.
Wait. I saw them in the fall of 86. They were not a headliner. They opened up for 38 Special. I saw them at Market Square Arena, Indianapolis.
Wow.
And I still have the shirt. It says Bon Jovi. And if you remember, it's got a picture of him, but it was the Slippery When Wet album.
Yes.
Had just come out. So on the back, it says the wetter, the better.
Nice.
Yeah. It's so here's what roasts my balls. I take a picture of it, front and back, and I send it to the kids. Like, hey, look at this. This is awesome. This is original from 1986. And of course, here's what I get. Oh, that's cool, Dad. Did your friends Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin go with you? Yeah, dicks. Yeah.
That's a good. Which ball buster kid was that? Was that Davis?
Oh, yeah, of course.
King of the ball busters. I wonder where that comes from. That's a good one. I got to text him later about that. That's a good one. Oh, man. Do you know what's funny that you say that? I had somebody make fun of me that they're like, what was it like growing up in the 1900s?
Good one.
You don't realize you got 20-year-olds that were, and I'm like, what the hell? And they're like, yeah, what was it like growing up in the 1900s? Yeah.
I'll tell you what it's like. We scrap right over there in the 1900s.
Back in the day.
Your ass right there. Yeah.
Back in the day, we scrapped right there. That's a good one. I saw them in the Rectum. The Spectrum in Philadelphia.
Wait a minute.
It was like maybe 89. Maybe 88, 89. I forget what the tour was, but they were great. I remember Bon Jovi had a long stage that went all the way out.
Yes.
And he played, plus Wanted Dead or Alive was awesome. Yeah, I had forgotten that I saw them. That was awesome. But you got to frame that shirt.
I do, really. And I'm going to send you a picture so we can put it up so everybody can see it.
Yes, thank you. Good call.
Artifact.
Yeah, good call.
It's awesome.
I got to remember to acknowledge the stuff when we have it, because some of the stuff I found for last week, I had forgotten that I had. We had some good pictures. I don't want to talk about Kyle Larson's lug nuts again. By the way, he's in the Chili Bowl this week. Anybody that wants to, he is a tremendous driver, tremendous driver. But I thought I erased my P2 card clips of all the stuff on Sunday because I couldn't find it last week.
Oh no.
That's why I know you didn't notice, but those clips I used were from Saturday. Man,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
found them before I went to wrestling. Before I went to PPL Center for Racing this week, I found them. I have the clip. I have the P2 card. I thought I lost all that stuff. Of that guy in the background, all happy that he got in the picture because he took a picture of Victory Lane.
Yeah. Well, that one's on the NASCAR website. That's official, so I can go get that anytime. Yeah. Hey, were you in the Chili Bowl before we started this podcast?
Well, actually, I had chili. That could have been the reason why I might be 6 pounds lighter now.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a late start tonight on this podcast.
Oh man! Oh, that was rough. Well, the medication kills me on today, but I'm wired. I'm all kinds of wired, more than normal. And then I got medication, so yeah, I'm about 6 to 7 pounds lighter than I was about an hour ago, and I actually had vegan or nutritarian chili. So yeah, oh man, that could be it. Hey, so what I wanted to bring up, another one, is another thing you brought up that I want to kind of really delve and analyze a little bit more, was the idiocy of the two of us going up to New England and only bringing back one Smirnoff. Now, let's remember, if people missed this, you can go back and watch what we talked about. But Mike and I went up to see the Eagles and Patriots Super Bowl because it was the Joe DeLome story. And his wife, Kathy, wanted us to bring back the flavored Smirnoffs. And right. We did not have them around here in PA yet. So we got her a 6-pack of orange and the green apple, which the green apple was killer. So we were all proud of ourselves, went through a case of beer. This was after the Patriots-Colts game we went to see live, and then came back to his buddy's house and watched the Eagles and Panthers. We drank all the beer and decided to have a few of the Smirnoffs. We drank all but one and brought her one. Think about the kick in the nuts that is, that we bring one back. And she's like, one was like, we might as well have just told her, you know what, we couldn't find any. We bring her one, and we're all proud of ourselves. We brought her one.
So there's a couple of really important points to make here. First of all, we were proud of ourselves, so we told her that we got 2 6-packs.
Yes.
Thinking, we got a case of beer, we're not going to drink those, right? Fast forward, I end up sleeping on the bathroom floor because it was tile, and I was sweating like a bastard.
Yeah.
That tile was cold. So I slept the whole night on the bathroom tile. Then we get up the next day and have the violent shakes.
Yes.
Right? We stop at a convenience store to get something for the ride home, like Gatorade.
Yeah.
And you go to pay for this Gatorade, and you're shaking like this, like change and bills are falling on the counter.
It was that bad. It was that bad.
There's no exaggeration.
And I'm standing there knowing I'm shaking, and I can see him losing it next to me. I can see him giggling like a little girl next to me because I'm shaking like a bastard. That was another one where we decide we're driving home and we're like thinking to ourselves, should we eat? So we decide, a good whatever, maybe 2-3 hours into the trip. Yeah, I think we should eat. So of course, the wisest choice, 2 genius guys, let's pull into McDonald's, fire down a couple of cheeseburgers, right? Let's do that. That'll help. That'll sit really well.
I don't think once we left that convenience store, we didn't say a word to each other in the car for a solid 2.5 hours. It was just eyes ahead, trying not to yak, just concentrate, don't get a Dewey.
Yes.
Right? Then we decide we should get some McDonald's. That's the right thing.
Not until that plastic shield ripped off.
Correct.
Then we talked about that.
Yes. Right. So then you drop me off at home, and I have my bag and one bottle of Smirnoff.
All proud of yourself.
And I come in, and my wife's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what is wrong with you two? You brought one."
Yeah, she was not happy.
You had 2. No, that was not.
No,
not so good.
That was, and we were proud of that we saved her one. Like we were proud of ourselves. Like, well, we saved you one. Yeah, that was. I wanted to revisit that because that's another example of 2 complete morons. Like, just basically morons doing it. And then all proud, like, well, what? We brought one back. Because if you think about it, she never would have known if we got him. We could have said that we didn't get any, couldn't find him. But instead, no, we're proud. Here's one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in our defense, that's usually about her limit.
Well, that's for another time too. If we would have gotten her a 12-pack, this was 2003, she might have some of them left.
That would take good one. That would have taken her. That would have taken her. I was going to say a year. I was going to say because her eyes get heavy. Her eyes get heavy when she has too many.
Her limbs get heavy.
All right, let's talk a little sports here. I got a couple things about the NFL. First of all, before we start, I want to talk about this. Did you watch the national championship game?
Absolutely.
Tell me. So I'm watching the game. Here's what I'm thinking. Because I am not a big proponent of expanding the playoffs. Because I don't think these people that think these little teams like Cincinnati deserve to be in there. No, you tell me when you're watching Georgia play and really watching the game, that defense they have was a bunch of men on the field. And tell me if that team off the bus looks like any one of these group of 5 teams. I mean, off the bus, they look like an NFL team.
I thought the defense looked like an NFL defense. And one of the things that really stood out to me was early in the game, Alabama ran a sweep around the right side.
Yes.
And the closing speed of that linebacker was unbelievable. Like this guy's running a 4.3.
Yep.
And he cut this guy off. Like there's no other defense in college football that has that level of athlete.
Oh, it's unreal. Alabama loses 2 receivers for that game because they lost Mechie. They lose Williams. Yeah. They lose 2 defensive backs. They just bring it. I mean, it's just that's the thing. It's the dudes off the bus, and it's the depth that they have that they're still able to. And there's no way in a regular grind, if you let those group of 5 want to play, that's fine. But then you get into a Power 5 conference to make a larger. So Cincy wants to be in Coastal Carolina, BYU, great. But now Cincinnati's getting into Big 12. Get in there and play those teams every week.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that's amazing is both of those lineups, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State was this way for a period of time. The whole roster is 4- and 5-star athletes. So you have a 4-star, 5-star receiver go down.
Yeah.
And the guy that comes in behind him is a 4- or 5-star receiver.
Yes. And the whole theory, the whole theory of, because the expansion is coming, I know it. And I know they're going to go to 12, which I think that's fine. Because what you're going to get is you're going to get 4 SEC teams, 3 Big 10 teams. You probably get a Pac-12, and I know it doesn't come out to 12, but that's what's going to happen. And if you want to put conference championships automatically in, conference champions automatically in, you want to see Oregon play in there? Do you want to see Utah this year? Now, they played great against Ohio State. Okay, all right. But so that first round is going to be okay. But then when you get the top 4, and you get Bama, Georgia, Michigan, those big boys, Ohio State, in a meaningful playoff game, forget it. The dudes aren't there. Those first round are going to be fine, but I see them in a bowl game. I have no problem watching BYU play somebody in a bowl game or Ole Miss, and you're going to get more of the same, and you're going to get less of these other ones. And here's the other thing. As far as it helping recruiting is BS. So Lehigh, you remember Lehigh beat Duke? What was that, 10 years ago? That has not made a difference for them recruiting. They're not all of a sudden getting 5 C.J. McCollums. They had 1, and that's why they played. Does not. Nobody's going, oh, wow, Lehigh beat Duke. I'm going to go there instead of Kentucky. Yeah, I'm going to go there instead of Auburn. All right, no.
Yeah, it's pretty rare, by the way, that you get like a Steve McNair who went to, Alcorn State, and Roethlisberger, who went to Miami of Ohio. That's pretty rare, right? Most of the 5- and 4-star guys, they're going to a powerhouse because if you're a 4- or 5-star guy, you're looking at the net. You're going to play pro football.
Yeah.
And are you going to get that look at Cincinnati or Coastal Carolina or BYU or Utah even? Right? No. You're going to get it at Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Florida.
And this NIL is going to make it worse. It's going to make it worse because you're going to go now, other than Dion, other than Coach Prime, which is a complete joke.
Yeah.
But you're going to go to Bama, you're going to go to Michigan, you're going to go to Ohio State, you're going to go to Notre Dame, you're going to go to the places where the NIL, USC potentially now, you're going to go where the NIL, because that's what these boys want. They want the money, and that's where they're going. That's why these guys are going to Jackson State, because they think they're going to get exposure, and they're probably going to. And that's also probably why Florida State at some point is going to hire him. Somebody's going to hire him as a gimmick, because I don't think he's a great coach, but he's a gimmick, and he can get your really good players because people want to go there and they're going to get NIL deals from him with the help of him.
You don't think Coach Prime is a good coach?
No. My God. No. And, maybe he can, but at that, no, nope.
Hey, I'm okay with letting guys make money in college. I really don't have an issue with that. The implementation of it right now in the NCAA, I think that's going to have to be overhauled.
Yeah.
Right. This is version 1, and I don't think it's considering or contemplating all the scenarios that are going to happen.
It's exactly what most normal people expected. The rich are going to get richer.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Right.
Because I don't know if Temple can provide the same kind of NIL deal out of the American or East Carolina that Alabama can. I don't think they can. Yeah. My God. I didn't realize this too. This is now football. It doesn't matter because you're raking in a bunch of scholarship guys. But if you don't have room for a scholarship guy necessarily, you can get an NIL deal for him for $50,000 a year. And that's as good as paying for his tuition. I mean, maybe it's not the exact same amount, but that'll help,
Yeah, absolutely.
Kickers, all kinds of stuff. All right. So here's another revisitation. We talked about the Steelers story last week about Hines Ward. By the way, my buddy Jim comes over again and said, hey, I saw Trevor Lawrence in the Giant just a little while ago, last Sunday.
Good one.
That was funny. So there he is picking up on it. If you see a guy in a jersey, we saw Joe Flacco get hauled out of a bar. We saw Hines Ward fall asleep at a pisser.
We did.
Now, that's not the most memorable moment in that trip. Mike and I got media credentials for that trip because we were doing a profile on James Mungro. So after the game, we go in the Colts club, the locker room, and I'm interviewing Mungro, and Mike is sort of help. Well, you weren't holding the microphone, were you? You were just helping me, right?
I think I was holding something to look like I was busy working.
Right. Where am I going with this? What did you see that I'm thinking a lot of women and maybe some guys would kill us to be able to have that opportunity?
There were 2 memorable moments, Doug. So I had never been into the locker room of a professional football team. Okay. So it's a bunch of grown-ass men, and I kind of knew what to expect. But it's jarring to see a grown man naked right in front of him. And so we come in, there's a little bit of a cooling off period.
Yep.
So you come in the locker room, and guys are coming out of the shower and they're getting ready and they're going in the shower and they're doing stuff. And this is the first thing that happens, right? I'm standing here, you're right beside me, and I look to my left, and there's Mike Vanderjagt, the idiot kicker for the Colts who got liquored up, if you remember, right? Vanderjagt does not have 1 ounce of clothes on. Like, he is completely naked. And a local Indianapolis TV station is there, and the guy says, hey, Mike, when you get ready, we'd like a couple of minutes. And he goes, I'm good. Let's go. So the cameraman and the guy do this interview with Vanderjagt.
But is Johnson hanging out?
Yes, Johnson's just flapping. So I'm like, man, this is fucking weird, right? Like, this is surreal. And so then as we're standing there kind of looking, somebody puts their arm on my shoulder because it's crowded. And they kind of like say, excuse me, and they go behind me. It's Peyton Manning. And he's come out of the shower, and he's got to go do the post game. And so he's got a towel wrapped around him. So he walks up to his locker. He's facing away from us. Because now, like, I'm a big Colts fan, right? Like, this is a Hall of Famer. And so I'm like, well, I kind of gotta watch and look, right? So there he is standing there. Boom, towel goes off. He's getting his clothes out, getting dressed. There's his bare ass.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
Yep. There's Peyton Manning's bare ass.
So I'm shooting this, and it's going on. So we're interviewing James Mungro. He was a local guy, played at East Stroudsburg, went to Syracuse. I interviewed him when he set the state record, so we do a profile on him. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, by the way. That's for another time. Anyhow, and I'm on the other side of Mungro. So we're in the shot I'm shooting, there he is. And there's me, and there's Peyton Manning's bare ass.
Yeah. And I think I'm like half-ass holding a microphone because I can't stop looking at his bare ass.
I was telling that story to, I think it was Ava, and she's like, that's when she's like, wow. She's like, you guys have really like done a lot of interesting things. I'm like, yes, that actually happened. Yes. Now, I should have brought it up when he came out for the replay game, when Easton played Peaburg. I should have said, hey, Peyton, you remember that? But I mean, obviously, this is something that's done routinely, but for us, it stood out. So that was something I wanted to bring back up, because that's a classic moment that anytime we're around, if Peyton Manning goes, hey, Mike, remember when you saw his ass?
And I do, yes. I can't deny it.
I was trying to think. There's one other. What do we want to delve into? This is off the cuff. Do we want to delve into the Troy Aikman being dead story, or should we save that?
No, you can dive into that. That's a pretty good one.
We have running jokes. First of all, there's a couple of running jokes that there's time for another. Tour de France is one of them. There was a recent one. Oh, the Colts not playing that game in week 17 at home with the big Colts logo, which made every home team was on the road that week. But go ahead. So Mike's wife, Kathy, for some reason, and this is years ago, like 7 or 8 years ago, right? Thought
Easily.
was she?
I don't think so.
She thought Troy Aikman had passed away. She thought he was dead.
Yeah.
So that means every time we see him, every time, hey, that's that dead guy.
Yes.
We even had it in our Super Bowl square pool when you see something like a specific commercial or Troy Aikman, somebody belts out his Troy Aikman dead. We even used it for that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Now the logic that she held was it was a like playoff weekend or maybe even Super Bowl weekend, and they're running a bunch of clips, and they're all Troy Aikman. And her point was, hey, why is this all Troy Aikman? Did he die? No.
All right, so maybe it was she was lightheartedly saying that he died. Like she didn't actually think he was dead.
Well, I don't know, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter because every time it's like Sneezy on the Buccaneers.
Good one.
It's like Sneezy on the Buccaneers.
Yes. Yep.
Hey, speaking of that, that's for another time. But that happened in Tempe, right? Arizona State. They're in Tempe, right?
Yeah.
We're at a bar. So let me ask you guys a question because I want to get into this one. This is one of my favorite. So do you think a guy walking around a bar with a Detroit Lions t-shirt with the word taint on the back would draw somebody's attention? No. Mike
I could not get anyone to even acknowledge me.
He was, Mike was, so I'm going to explain that whole story, but Mike stood at the bar, and this is deep into it. This is a good, many beers into it, actually pointing to his back. Not one person said, hey, that's funny. Now, it was my shirt. So let me explain. I don't know how the joke got started, but when Golden Tate played, every time somebody said his name, I insisted that they said taint. So every time you see Golden Tate, you just yell out taint. So I told you how I had to go through hoops to get this, right?
Yes, you did. It's quite a story.
I decided I'm going to get my Golden Tate t-shirt. So I got a t-shirt jersey when he played with the Lions. And I ordered it. I think I ordered it from NFL Shop, like the NFL. And I ordered it online, custom-made t-shirt jersey with the word taint over his number. I think he was 15. I think he was 15 when he played with the...
Yeah.
So
right.
A couple days go by, and I get an email, which I know I saved, but I think it's going to be hard to find it. I got this very politely, nicely worded email from the NFL basically saying, I'm sorry, Mr. Heater, but we are not allowed to distribute shirts with like vulgar language on it. And it was worded out so professionally, and it was long. And I'm like, these guys are like, can you fucking believe this moron trying to get taint on his shirt? And we got to word this. We can't word it like, hey, idiot, we can't do this instead of doing that. So I went, and I think I'm going to plug another. I think I went through Fanatics, and it was like, Had the no problem, got it. Taint came in. Oh yeah, that was like a Sunday staple for a while there. I'd wear that and had the old Taint shirt.
Yes, I bet you, Doug, that you could get Taint on the back of this Kiss shirt.
I don't know if you could.
Some bitches,
you might be able to. Those some bitches want to put that on there. They'll like that. Yes, that is great. That was one of the better. But he wore that. That was the butt snorkeler shirt that guy wore.
That's right.
I got folks, I got a picture of that. So that will come up. Actually, just remembered, I think I still got a picture of you wearing the Taint shirt. So I'm going to throw that up there too. So we can look at that. Hey, here's another thing about my observation. So, I watched Red Zone on Sunday and I actually locked in pretty good. And I have an assessment of two things. One, I said this before, one of these podcasts I did by myself, that it's very hard to not make the playoffs in the NFL. Like, you really have to try hard to not make the playoffs because it's so mediocre that it's very hard to not make the playoffs. The other thing is, do you agree that barring maybe one or two teams, and I don't necessarily want to belt one in particular, no shot, but I think if anybody went into if you open the playoffs up to the entire league, all but maybe one or two teams, I think could win in the first round. Look at what the Jags did last week against the Colts. I think it's so close that any one of these teams on that given day can win. Just, do you agree with that, or do you think I'm crazy?
I think there's probably a couple of teams that have no chance. But the other 30, they could catch a hot streak. Like, look, listen, the Colts shit the bed. Mm-hmm. Jacksonville looked great, and they kicked their ass. You think that couldn't happen in a playoff game this week? Of course it could.
Yes. I think that I don't want more, because now I have I got to watch a game all by itself this week because there's no Red Zone, and I'm going to watch just what I believe is going to be brutal, awful, just, oh my God, football, because that's what the NFL, I mean, it's great. Listen, the last couple of weeks of the regular season are exactly what they wanted, and they got exactly what they wanted with upsets, overtimes. I mean, the Rams game, they got the game at night, the perfect game at night to go to OT. Yeah. But now we put a mediocre, shitty product on center stage. And until you get to the championship games, when you've ironed out the top four, because you kind of have an idea who it's going to be. I mean, I'm assuming Kansas City's going to be there. I'm thinking the Packers and the Bucks probably going to be there. Until you get to that point, you get to see some mediocre shit. There's no Texans, thankfully, to make the playoffs every year anymore. I mean, there's some excitement because you got Cincy in there, which I think is great. But by the way, what other league is designed where the worst team, Cincinnati, goes from worst? How many times now? First, except for Minnesota. Worst, first in the playoffs, win a division.
The NBA might, because you have 5 guys starting and you can draft one guy who can make a difference, right? But yeah, I get your point. Here's what I think might be the best thing of the weekend. It's going to be balls cold in Buffalo.
Yes.
And maybe one of them sumbitches will throw a
dildo bowl. Yeah. Yes, you're right. Dildo bowl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that should be pretty good. I thought it's so mediocre that it's, and I know talking about putting more teams in, and my God, don't even play. There's so many things that bother me about that. I don't know if I'm getting too old.
There's not enough talent to go around to the 32 teams today.
Oh,
right. That's kind of the issue.
Quarterback play. My God, you got to look up. I don't even, some of these, listen, I watch a lot of college football. I don't know where half these guys went. I didn't know that Davis Mills went to Stanford. I had no idea. Yeah. I knew Paul Hogan went there. It wasn't Paul Hogan.
Good one.
It wasn't Paul Hogan.
Yeah, not him. Yeah, it's not him.
It wasn't Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, good one.
It was Kevin Hogan. But hey, so last week, this week, I've had some people bust my balls that there's like a breath of actual sports and the rest of it is just ranting about piss buckets. So we went more sports today. But I want to bring up what you said last week. So Mike, at the end of every show, and we're okay. We're in the 30-minute mark. Screw it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It can go longer. I love doing this. So last week I had Mike have some words of wisdom at the end of the show, which I've put him on the spot. I'm going to expect him to do that every week. So he stated, so go ahead. Do you have that last week? Do you remember it word for word? Because go ahead and revisit what you said last week, and then I want to go a little further on that.
Yeah. Here's what I ended with. There's an old saying, you reap what you sow. If you sow kindness, you reap kindness. If you sow jackass, you reap jackass.
All right. Classic. So that was stated, if you didn't know this, by Eli Drinkwitz, who donned a lightsaber because the year earlier, Dan Mullen, who looks like Cousin Eddie, said it after he beat Missouri. So Drinkwitz, I think, couldn't wait till he beat him. That is extremely accurate. Let's remember, now I like Dan Mullen as a coach, but he obviously is a little off to do that. Let's remember, right? Didn't his team throw a shoe? Oh, no, that was against him. That's right. Yeah. LSU threw a shoe. But these teams take on the personality of the coaches, and if you sow jackass, you're going to reap jackass. And that is such an accurate statement and so well done. That was perfect. That was hilarious. I thought he was spot on with that.
Yeah, it's a great line, by the way. And you know what? Mullen deserved it. He sucked anyway.
Yes. So one other thing I kind of want to go back to a little bit. And I think we got a little, I want to bring up the burning the chair. You know what? No. I got another one. Now, this is going to be a little delicate here. Because this is going to lead into, it's got to do with softball players. And that's why I'm going to save it's in the same topic as that. So, have you ever heard, someone that's close to me told me he had, I don't want to even say who it is. He had 3 girls that played softball. And apparently, if you play for the other team, right? If you don't play for the other team, you wear a ribbon in your hair. If you play for the other team, you don't.
Okay.
Have you ever heard this before? So in other words, the ribbon is kind of a sign of like, no, I'm off limits. I've heard this. Now, I've heard softball players tell me, and then I tell them the story, and they're like, oh, it kind of makes a lot of sense.
I had never heard it, by the way. I had no idea. Now, in fair defense of me, I haven't spent a lot of time around women's softball.
That's true.
But it does make a lot of sense when you start to think back on it.
I just know that when we covered this pro team up here, it was like a singles bar some night. I mean, it was something. So the ribbons would... Now, the reason why I say this is that we had 2 softball-looking players show up when we burned the chair at my house.
Yes, we did.
Is that as delicate as I can say that?
Yes. I think everybody has to draw their conclusion from how you position that.
All right, so having said that and introduced the characters, we showed the picture, and I'll revisit the picture of we have a hellacious mohawk party 2 nights before I'm going to go in for a stem cell transplant. Mike gives me a great mohawk, which I can show the picture again. We put a plastic deck chair on our fire. Now, it's inside a fence, and it was definitely not a smart thing to do. But that sumbitch burned like a bastard. I mean, it was like something was on fire, but it was, I know neighbors were probably like, they burned the freaking house down because it looked bad. And it was a free-for-all. So the fire of the chair is starting to go, it's down low enough that you could actually get to within, 5 or 8 feet of it, maybe inside the fence again. Not really. Yeah. Actually, not really, because we were standing outside the fence.
Well, yeah, because it was hot as a bastard.
It was hot.
Like a fucking blast furnace going on.
So 2 softball player-looking women showed up who looked identical. I do not think they were sisters, however, but I think they knew each other quite well. They show up. One of them alleges to be the condo board president. And is asked, I don't remember, asked, like, do you understand what you're doing here? I'm like, now I'm so ripped that I can barely even, I don't know what's coming out of me. Those words are like, I'm hoping I'm making sense. And they're like, neighbors are calling. I'm like, nah, it's good. That's all I kept saying. Nah, it's good. Do you remember that anymore? I mean, is that pretty accurate? Like, they were just very worried that we were going to burn something. And they're like, they're feeling the inside of the fence. Now, I had a fire hose there ready to go in case we needed to put something out.
So it was, just to add a little color to this, it was in the summer, right? It was like August.
It's August.
And this fucking thing is flaming 15 feet in the air.
Yeah.
At least, right? And it's dark. It's midnight, probably, or thereabouts. And we can't stand it inside there anymore because it's too hot. So we kind of come out, and all of a sudden, boom, they're right there.
Like we were
Sideways.
drinking pucker.
Correct. Good one. Good one. We'll save that one for another time, too, now that we've introduced the concept here.
Yes.
And so they were talking to you, and I was trying my best to be like, to get out of it.
Yes.
Right? Like, I don't want to deal with conflict. I'm hammered. And and they were feeling the fence. The fence is hot. And the only thing you said was, "That's all right. That's all right."
That's all I could say, that I knew it wasn't going to be something like blah, blah, blah. So the funny thing is, so they tell me, like, listen, neighbors complained, and I'm like, it's going to be fine. It's all right. It's all right. And they said if the fire department might come, which was that was close. Somebody could have called the fire department. And all I said is, if they come, they're like, we're not responsible if the fire department comes. I'm like, all right, let them come. What am I going to do? Let's let them come. They never showed up, which I think would have been hilarious, by the way. But they're not going to come because it was contained, sort of. So here's the funny thing. So let's remember now. Let's set the stage. I have a mohawk. I have a goatee. I'm wearing a T-shirt that says, "Don't be a rooster lollipop" on it. It's got a rooster and a lollipop. So it says, "Don't be a cocksucker." His son, Davis, as soon as they're like basically out of earshot, goes, "Hey, did you notice those two women looked exactly alike?" And we all did, like, yes, yes. And then you go, "Do you know what you look like right now?" Like, I am surprised. Like, can you imagine them walking up? Like, first of all, somebody call, it's late, and they're like, oh my God, we got to show up to this guy's house. He's got this rager going, and look at the guy. Look at the guy. He's got a mohawk and a "Don't be a cocksucker" shirt. I guarantee you they're telling that story. Like, what's the worst resident you've had to deal with? Well, some asshole burned a plastic chair and a "Don't be a cocksucker" shirt with a mohawk on his head. Drunk so much that he couldn't even speak.
That is true. Oh, that scene. The whole scene was something. It was something.
That was.
You know what we needed? We needed a guy pissing over the fence.
Well, we tried. We tried that night. You can't do it. That's why, Jim. You can't do it. Hey, so we're running out of time here. We're up. This is going to be a good record time. This is the longest. We're running out of time. So I want you to leave everyone with some words of wisdom that we will then analyze next week.
Okay. Here are my parting words of wisdom for everyone. I don't care how nice the hand soap smells. Never walk out of the restroom while sniffing your finger.
That is a good one, and it's a very wise thing to say, because you are correct. You are correct there. Yes.
I'm trying to be very practical with our listeners.
I was going to say something there, but I'll text you the joke later because I don't think it's appropriate enough for me to even belt this one out. But I had one that was coming up. That is funny. All right. Keep that in mind, everybody, because we will break that down next week, and then maybe I'll tell my joke. That's for another time, which is probably what we should change this to. It, however, is Stay Out of the Kitchen. This is episode 9. Once again, loving it. Hope people are loving it. Spread the word. Tell people, whatever it is. Let us know what you think. Some people are busting our balls, but keep it going. Love it, and looking forward to it. Mike, good stuff. We got the playoffs this week, so we'll have that to talk about, and obviously have some good things to revisit for next week. So good one this week, and we'll see you next week.
Lots of great stuff. See you next week, everybody.
All right, he's Mike Fouts. I'm Doug Heater. Thank you once again for watching episode 9 of Stay Out of the Kitchen. We'll talk to you next week.